Welcome to True Crime Undercover. I am your host, A-Train, and I am joined by the star of the show, Super E.
What's up, everybody? We have D-Mania. What's going on?
D-Mania.
How's it going?
How are you, D-Mania?
I'm doing very well. Very well. Thank you.
Good. What about you, Super E?
Doing okay. D-Mania, tell us that story. I kind of remember what it is, but it's very tragic.
Yeah, it was. I know our last episode was kind of laughy and uplifting, but and we talked about sucky things you had in your mouth. But
All right.
Twice.
anyway, when I was a deputy, I had got dispatched to a welfare check at some apartment buildings, single level, kind of duplex style. And I got there. There was a backup deputy who showed up and couldn't raise anybody. The backstory was a young mother had a very young baby. I believe it was only a couple months old. And she brought it to grandma who lived in this apartment to watch this baby. Well, she supposedly was going to go do something and come back. Well, turns out that the young mother went to a party and didn't show back up this was like the third day she hadn't shown up when we were there.
Oh, no.
So we couldn't raise anybody. All the curtains were drawn and the doors were all locked, so we couldn't get in. And right when we were getting ready to leave and try to make some phone calls to try to raise somebody, I told the other deputy that I kind of getting that smell at the front door. And we all know what that smell is.
Yeah.
The death smell. And so I ended up booting in the front door. And when I walked in, the first thing that I saw was the grandmother sitting in a recliner chair, completely naked. And there was a baby laying on her chest. I mean, this baby, a couple months old, maybe. And I'm like, I can't deal with the dead baby right now. This is just terrible. And I saw the baby twitch its fingers. So I ran over there real quick. And you know how babies, when their fingernails start growing and they kind of like dig their fingers into things.
Yeah.
So this baby had been on this deceased woman's chest, I would say at least 2 or 3 days. And it was kind of like, because it was skin on skin contact, it was like fused to the deceased woman. And like when we peeled the baby off, it kind of sounded like pulling Velcro apart. I mean, to give a idea of what it sounded like. Anyway, the child had been digging its fingers into the deceased woman, and there was like, gouges in the side of her body from these little baby fingers, and the baby was severely dehydrated. What I think happened was when we looked around the apartment, the bathroom, I think grandma, like I said, was sick, and she had went to the bathroom. I think she was actively dying, and it looked like a shit grenade had went off in the bathroom. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. And I think that and it completely wasn't her fault, picked up the baby and sat down in the chair and died. And yeah, it was absolutely crazy. So we got like the baby's diaper was like fused into the skin. It was like embedded into the skin. It was been on there so long. So anyway, we called the paramedics, and they transported the baby to the hospital, and we took care of the grandmother. And then the mother shows up, acting like she doesn't know what's going on. And she finally fessed up that she went to a party for 3 days after she gave the child to the grandmother. And I think I filed charges on the mother and, of course, notified CPS.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to the hospital, and those poor nurses had to scrub that little baby to get all that dead smell off of the body. And it had, all that woman's skin under its fingernails.
Oh, my God.
But I told that woman, I'm going to do everything. the young mother everything in my power to make sure you never get that child back, because you don't deserve to have a baby after that. And I had followed back up about a year later with CPS about that case, and that mother never did get that kid back. They adopted it out to a good family, which was nice, but it was a tragic situation, which could have been worse had we been a day later or something. You know, the child was severely dehydrated, and but that was just a crazy story involving.
I got a question.
Baby.
Question, D-Mania. Do you recall about how old the woman was, the grandmother?
Oh my gosh, she was probably at least in her mid-70s.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So go ahead. I'm sorry.
The young mother, how old do you think she was, if you remember?
Teen, 16, 17.
And she was gone for 3 days.
Yeah, she just gave the baby to the grandmother and bailed. Lied to her, said that I'll just be gone for a couple hours or a day or something. I don't remember.
And never called back, never checked on the baby.
Correct.
Oh my God.
Nothing.
It's a miracle that baby survived.
Absolutely.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
I know it is.
There's go ahead, Super E. Or
A-Train.
Sorry.
I was just going to say, thank God you kicked that door in.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
You caught that whiff. You smelled that smell that we all know, and that
it's horrible.
God, thank God you did that, D-Mania.
You know, it's weird that some of the public, they don't know the amount of calls or situations that we deal with involving young children or children in general. But I had another one I had to go do a welfare check, and I got to the house, and the window was open, curtains were open, the lights were on in the house. Had a big picture window. Nobody answered the door. I looked through the picture window, and there was probably a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old, brother and sister, sitting on the floor of this living room. I'm like, what's going on here? Nobody answers. So the door was unlocked. So I walked in. There was a note on a coffee table. I think the mom lived with another young mother, lived with her parents. Parents were out of town. She said that she was going to a party. And that's all the note said, but she left these two kids, 2 and 3 years old, babies, sitting on the floor in front of a TV. But she did, I must say, she left water and food out for the kids, because she left a gallon jug of water that had never been opened sitting on the floor, and 2 cans of food, like a can of corn and a can of beans, that weren't even open. She set them on the floor like the kids were going to open them up and cook them.
God.
I couldn't believe it.
You know what? Was she a meth head?
No, but she was involved in other illicit substances, but not meth. Yeah.
Well, one time there was a crackhead that worked the hot dog stand. Her name was Ugly Maddie. One of the ugliest women I've ever seen in my life. You took a caveman with a long wig and like 5 teeth in his head, and turned it into a woman, which is easy, I guess, nowadays.
Yeah.
Ugly Maddie had the hairiest arm. She had to braid it. Well, one of the vice detectives, his name was Joe. He's now passed on. God rest his soul. He locks her up for prostitution, and she said, "I can't go to jail. Why not?" Well, I got to tell my babysitter. You know, my 8-month-old baby, I got a babysitter. So Joe takes her up there. He goes, "I'm going in first." He goes in first, and he looks in this bed, and he sees a homeless crackhead guy laying in the bed with the baby, kind of like spooning it. The baby's like in his... And Joe goes, "Who the fuck are you?" And he goes, "I'm the babysitter." And he goes, what are you talking about? And then, Ugly Maddie came in. He goes, see that woman right there? Well, I think it's a woman. She paid me 50 cents to watch her baby for a couple hours so she could go make money for crack. And Joe goes, wait a minute. Do you know this woman? He goes, I've never seen her before in my life. So Ugly Maddie
Oh, my God.
paid a homeless crackhead she never met before 50 cents to watch her 8-month-old child. And he was laying in bed with this child.
Unbelievable.
It is unbelievable.
Hey, Train, do you remember that time I told you I was going down Prospect Avenue and it was dark, and I saw a 92 or 3-year-old woman pulling a baby in a wagon to go to the village pantry convenience store. I stopped and asked her if she needed any help. She goes, no. I asked her, I was nosy. I said, well, how old are you? She goes, she was like 93. I said, what are you doing with this young child? And her great-great-great-great-granddaughter, who was like 16 or 17, just abandoned the child, and this 93-year-old woman was left in charge of raising the baby.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
Good
I
Lord.
couldn't believe it.
The things people do with their kids it's just crazy. I had another one. I had to go I got a call. I don't remember what the call was, but it was a trailer. And I approached this trailer, and the steps, you know how the trailers are raised up, like a house trailer?
Yeah.
Right.
And to get into the door, the step was a pile of roofing scrap. And I step up on that and go into this trailer, and this was in the wintertime. And every room in this house, including the bathroom, had so much clutter in it. You could literally only go in the hallway, the kitchen, and whatever they called the living room. It was so bad. They had a 5-gallon bucket with a roll of toilet paper next to it in the living room of this trailer, and it was completely full. Absolutely disgusting.
Oh, my
And
God.
there's like 3 or 4 little kids running around this trailer. And the way that they were heating the trailer, they had the oven turned on full blast with the big oven door open, a fan sitting on the top of the open door. You know how it lays down?
Yeah.
And a fan sitting on top of that, blowing the heat from the oven. And these kids are running around this oven. God only knows what could have happened.
Good Lord.
But yeah, it's crazy.
Man,
Craziness.
that's the one.
And that affects policemen after a while.
It does.
Children and old people.
I think about that incident with the baby and that deceased lady very often. Yeah.
Yes.
That's hard. Well, it's not hard to forget. You can't forget that.
You can't forget it. You cannot forget it.
Man.
That's the thing about law enforcement. We never forget the sights and the smells.
But the public thinks all we do is sit around and eat donuts, which I ate some donuts.
Yeah.
But you know what? We were out there doing the best we could to protect the citizens that we serve. D-Mania will never forget that. I will never forget the 90-year-old and 89-year-old, the 2 sisters that were brutally murdered by the 14-year-old next door neighbors that stole like $20 from them, threw them down. They were both so old. One was in a wheelchair, threw them down the stairs in the basement. And then when I discovered them, their eyes were still open, and the look of sheer terror was still on their face. I can't get that out of my mind.
All right, and you never will.
Nope, never will.
Well, I'll tell you guys what, after I recover from this episode and go get a couple counseling sessions, I'll share some of my stories. Because I gotta, oh man, D-Mania. Boy, that's a tough one. I can't. Yeah. Man, thank God that baby survived, but God, is
absolutely.
That's just a nightmare to think about it. Good Lord.
Yep.
Okay. Well, listen, we like to make people laugh, but you know what? Sometimes we just gotta tell our truth.
Keep it real.
You got to keep it real. And that's what we're doing.
10-4.
So I'll tell you what, we're going to cut this one off. I'm not a crier, but I think I'm going to go in the bathroom and cry.
I'm going to go sit on the edge of the bed and stare at the floor.
Okay, everybody. Well, thanks for sharing that, D-Mania. That was that's powerful.
You're welcome.
We'll see y'all later.
See you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.